we've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
It's Tuesday night in Las Vegas, which means it's time for another Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. That's right, coming to you live from the Findlay Chevrolet Studios. I'm Scott Gobranson, and for the next hour, we're going to recap this week's big loss to the Titans and talk about all things Raiders football. You can join us also online. We are streaming on video as long as the internet holds up. We've had issues the last couple weeks, so hopefully we'll continue to bring you the video, so make sure you tune in there. Don't forget, tune in each Sunday as well for Las Vegas's first and only other All Raiders talk show, Silver and Black Today, which you can hear from 8 to 10 a.m. Of course, streaming on the radio.com app. Do me a favor, if you do not have the radio.com app, you got to go get it. With the new rewind function, it's sort of like a DVR even, so there's a lot you can do there. Make sure you go grab that puppy. It is worth it, and you can always keep track of the show. Tonight, we'll go over the highlights and lowlights of the Raiders' third straight loss, talk about some of the reasons why this team is struggling offensively and defensively, and we want to call you. We want you to call us, I should say. Give me a ring and get that rant out of your system. I'm alone in the studio. If you're watching on video, see, it's just me, all by my lonesome. Mark's in the booth over there giving me dirty looks, but other than that, I'm myself. So give me a call, 702-889-5978. That's 702-889-578. Also, Chaz Osborne, I am solo tonight because he's in the Bay Area on assignment. We'll tell you much more about that in the coming weeks. He'll join us by phone to give us his view of the game. And later, our senior NFL columnist and Bleacher Report contributor Moe Moton will be our guest to talk about the Raiders, the end of the 2019 season, and his piece that just went live on silverandblacktoday.com. And that's about what the Raiders need to do as far as changes on that porous, hard-to-watch defense. So that's coming up here, too. Okay, let's go back and recap. I know it's tough, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's go back and recap the game that was. After losing 2 games in a row on the road in New York and Kansas City, the Raiders returned to Oakland for a must-win against a hot Tennessee Titans team led by resurgent quarterback Ryan Tannehill. The Coliseum was abuzz with a playoff-like feel as the Raiders, sitting at 6-6, looked to right the ship at home. Coming in with a 5-1 record at home this season, the Raiders got off to a good start in a surprising place. Let's dive in. It's scoreless in the first quarter in Tennessee and Tannehill moving the ball down the field. The Raiders' defense strikes the first blow as second-year defensive tackle Mo Hurst makes a big play.
Tannehill under pressure, and it's intercepted. Tipped and picked off. Maurice Hurst off to the races. Tannehill cuts him down at about the 25-yard line.
There you go. Big Mo Hurst with that one, and really started the game off on a high note. The big takeaway for the Raiders would not go to waste as quarterback Derek Carr managed the team's offense, and even without star running back Josh Jacobs, who missed the game with a shoulder injury, was able to dial up the running game and DeAndre Washington to take an early lead.
From the 14. Washington, 10-5, touchdown.
DeAndre Washington, there you go. The Raiders lead 7-0. That wouldn't hold up long as the surging Titans offense responded in kind with a touchdown run of their own, thanks to the big and bruising Derrick Henry, who went 12 yards to even the game at 7.
The pitch for Henry to the 5, to the end zone, touchdown.
That was Tannehill and the Titans' passing game that would next make some big noise. On the first down early in the second quarter, the quarterback found wide receiver and rookie A.J. Brown over the middle for a, get this, 91-yard touchdown toss.
Tannehill under pressure, going to throw it deep, has his man open down the middle of the field, and he's got him. A.J. Brown to the end zone for the touchdown. 91 yards.
With the Titans up 14-7, Carr and the Raiders would answer back with a long pass of their own. Rico Gafford benefited from a blown coverage in the Tennessee secondary and found pay dirt for his first pro touchdown as Carr found him streaking up the sideline for 49 yards to tie the game at 14.
Carr going to go deep. Has him wide open. That is Gafford for the touchdown.
All right, Rico Gafford there. Like a great heavyweight boxing match, though, the Titans got off the mat and responded with a counterpunch of their own. Again, rookie speedster Brown was the recipient as Tannehill tossed another TD to the wideout to give the Titans the lead again at 21-14.
Tannehill on the quick slant. That's complete, and Brown to the end zone for the touchdown.
There you have it. Again, A.J. Brown with a nice touchdown, 21-14. Despite the big punch, Carr and the Raiders responded yet again, this time driving 71 yards over 14 plays, capped off by this Foster Moreau 1-yard touchdown grab to tie the game at 21.
180. On second and goal. Carr throwing, end zone, wide open for the touchdown is Foster Moreau.
Moreau would later leave the game with a knee injury, and his status for the season unfortunately placed on IR late tonight. He will miss the remainder of 2019. Before the half, Tennessee had a chance to take a 3-point lead, but kicker Ryan Suckup missed a 43-yard field goal to leave the score knotted at 21 into the intermission. The second half would not be kind to the Raiders, as it hasn't been all season. The Raiders are worst in the NFL when it comes to third quarter scoring, averaging just 1.7 points per game, and had just 9 points in the second half over the past 3 games. The Titans did not have such problems. With 5:36 left in the third, they give the ball to human wrecking ball Derrick Henry again. This time, a run up the middle for 12 to give Tennessee a 28-21 lead.
Henry reaching for the end zone, and he got there. Touchdown.
Derrick Henry with his second touchdown of the day. Then the Titans would begin to pour it on as the Raiders would again have no answer on offense. Tannehill heats up again and finds a Jonnu Smith for a 17-yard TD catch, giving the Titans the 35-21 edge.
Well, it is. It's a system that Arthur Smith is running. He's had to make some adjustments as they throw to the end zone. And that's caught in the end zone by Jonnu Smith for the touchdown. 17 yards.
Still down by 14 and unable to move the ball or score points in the second half, Carr started to get into a rhythm in the fourth and finds his favorite target, tight end Darren Waller, for a 3-yard pass that quickly goes wrong.
First down now up to their own 45, and Carr looking left, throws left. And that Waller once again lost the football on the sideline. Picked up by Tennessee's Jayon Brown down the sideline to the end zone for the touchdown.
With the Raiders now out of the game behind 42-21 late in the fourth, the Raiders tried to end their second half and fourth quarter scoring drive, taking the ball all the way to the Tennessee 1-yard line. Failing to find the end zone on 3 consecutive plays, Carr and the Raiders had one more chance on fourth down, but the results weren't any different.
And Trayvon Mullen, these guys are all rookies and had great production this season and will be a part of the Raiders for some time.
Carr on 4th and goal, throwing incomplete.
There you go. That's the fourth and incomplete that everyone has been talking about. Thanks to CBS Sports for the sound from last Sunday's game. In closing, the Raiders dropped their third straight game to the Titans and again find themselves looking for answers on both sides of the ball. And on defense, the Raiders could not find any consistent play and were unable to stop the Titans enough to keep the game close and failed to pressure quarterback Ryan Tannehill, who finished the day 21-27 for 391 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the Titans amassed a staggering 552 yards, folks. Wow. And the Silver and Black defense still looking for answers and bodies to step up. How good was Ryan Tannehill? Well, he joined Aaron Rodgers as the only player to complete at least 75% of their passes with a passer rating of 130 or higher in 3 consecutive games. Just incredible. And so the fervor, whatever you want to call it, continues with the Raiders, with Derek Carr, as they lose their third straight. We're going to step aside when we come back. We're going to be joined by Chaz Osborne from Oakland. He's going to give us the game-defining moment. We'll also talk more about this, and I'm going to go on some rants here about the Raiders on why you shouldn't be surprised and why maybe you were too positive about what would happen this season with your Raiders. You're listening to the Silver and Black Tonight. Don't go anywhere.
CBS Sports Radio.
Raider Nation rallies with us. This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Welcome back to Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
What a weekend it was, right, Raider Nation? A lot of the hopes and dreams of those who thought maybe the Raiders could make the playoffs in their final season in Oakland have pretty much dashed with the loss, I wouldn't call it a blowout, but the big loss, 21 points, to the Tennessee Titans. And we're going to go out on the attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line now and bring in my partner who's usually here with me, but he's on special assignment up in the Bay Area right now in Oakland, and that, of course, is Chaz Osborne. Chaz, you keeping it together up there?
Hey, yeah, just got over here. I'm checking the mood over here. I actually heading over to a friend's house in Haight-Ashbury. They're Raider fans as well, so it'll be interesting to see the mood of the Bay Area Raider fan base with the final home game in Oakland, Alameda this weekend. Well,
Haight-Ashbury, you can definitely probably find some mind-altering things there to take your mind off it.
They might not they'll be there, but they won't actually be there.
But Chaz, before we dive into some more of the facts, though, as every week you do, you talk about kind of a game-defining moment. There were so many things that happened. I mean, the first half was going so on. For you, what was that defining moment? When did it get away from the Raiders?
Honestly, I know the game was tied at the half, but to me, it really felt like the Titans could have easily been up 31-14. I mean, with 350 yards of total offense, they were moving the ball at will in the first half. But the turning point for me was really that second drive of the second half. The Raiders had just held the Titans on a 3-and-out after pinning them deep in their own territory. And with the ball midfield to start that second drive, they promptly went and 3-and-out themselves and gave the ball right back to the Titans, who drove 89 yards in 6 plays for the touchdown, and that just started another avalanche that the Raiders couldn't recover from.
But here's the thing, too, and that's it. There's been so much back and forth. Of course, the defense. I said it in the first segment, Chaz. 552 yards they gave up to the Titans. 552. I mean,
staggering.
It's staggering, and I'm not here. I'm never going to give excuses for a defense that is undermanned and not performing as they need to, right? And
right.
they've had injury. It's not an excuse. Everybody has injuries, but I'm just blown away because people only want to see one thing, one reason why this team is where they are. They want to blame Derek Carr. Or they want to blame the defense. There's like no in between where I'm looking at it all, Chaz, and I'm saying, yeah, all of the above.
Yeah, all of the above. We've talked about it. It's not a complete team, by any stretch of the imagination. Like we talked about at the beginning of the season, it was like this, it's going to be a building season. It's a rebuild. We're gonna hope this gets better. We're gonna hope that gets better. And then all of a sudden, when you're sitting at 6-4, you start talking about playoffs, and we're all of a sudden great. It's like, wait a minute, pump the brakes a little bit. A lot of injuries, a lot of moving pieces there, and it's not a complete team yet. I don't know if you played the sound from John Gruden yet, but
no.
Any of those press conferences? No. Well, the Raiders, the Raiders have scored the fewest points in the league in the third quarter, right? 20 points. 20 points, Scott. 20 points in 12, now 13 games.
Amazing.
It's just, well, John Gruden was asked about that, and he said, and I quote, "I don't know what they're eating or drinking or talking about in there at halftime." Like, he doesn't know what they're talking about. Isn't he the one that should be talking in there? Chewing them out, motivating, strategizing, something.
Yeah, and Chaz, I know we only have a couple minutes left here, but I agree with you too. And I think actually John Gruden, I told you last week, I had no problem with him defending his quarterback. It's just what you do. There's no sense in undressing your player in front of the media
right.
and breaking them down. At the same time, I thought him coming out, he continues to talk about the schedule. He continues to talk about injuries, which I know play factors into it, but you can't use it as an excuse. And he seems like he's doing it more, and I don't think that's a good message for the players.
No, but, he also talked about the play calling and that he calls the plays and he needs to do a better job of that. And, Scott, you and I, we said it over the past few weeks that some of the plays have looked predictable. And now credit the Titans defense for playing a great game. We saw on one or more of occasion that Derek Carr keeping the play alive as long as he could, but the Titans did a great job in coverage. So you got to give him that. But, I'm starting to point the finger a little bit at Coach Gruden, maybe not mixing it up enough. We heard last week that the Chiefs, the Honey Badger, talking about how he kind of knew what Derek Carr was doing, and a lot of that's on the coach. You got to mix it up. You've got to call these play calls. They knew Ingold was getting that ball. The defender jumped over the line before the ball was even snapped because he knew Ingold was getting it. Like, it's getting a little predictable.
That's
fine.
Well, it's predictable.
It's
predictable, and then you got to wonder why it's predictable. Is it predictable because they don't have the confidence in the quarterback in the off. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I think you're right. I think you're right, Chaz, and I think it's something that we're going to have to watch. And, of course, we'll talk about it on Sunday when you're back a little bit as we preview the Jaguars game. All right, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for calling in, and we will talk to you on Sunday.
Okay, sounds good, Raider Nation.
All right, Chaz Osborne, of course, my co-host on the road in Oakland right now. We're going to step aside, take a break here. When we come back, we'll be joined by Moe Moton, our senior NFL columnist, Bleacher Report contributor. We're going to talk to him about this current state of the Raiders. What does he think? What do they need to do on defense? He tells us. silverandblacktoday.com. Read his column, and he'll be back right after this.
We've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
This is Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
Welcome back, Raider Nation. Silver and Black Tonight, of course, the sister program, brother program, whatever you want to call it, to Silver and Black Today. Listen, 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time on Sundays, so you can hear us twice a week. Also, just if you haven't seen, the Raiders made some transaction announcements late this afternoon. They have signed Rod Smith, the running back from Ohio State, originally 5-year vet. They've signed him. They've waived the following players, and you will not be surprised. Linebacker Preston Brown, Terrell McClain, the defensive tackle, and DJ Swearinger, the safety, as well as putting Foster Moreau, the tight end, the rookie tight end, on the injured reserve. They've also signed to the practice squad Dylan Mabin. Of course, you remember him from the preseason. So the Raiders making moves after giving up 552 points on defense. I can see why. Oh my gosh, just incredible. And I'm gonna have a rant to end the show on some of that too. But before that, we're going to go out on the Newsmaker line here and bring in our senior NFL columnist, Moe Moton. And Moe just published his story, his take on what they need to do on defense, what the Raiders need to do on defense. But we're going to bring him in now. Moe, good evening. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Just looking at these transactions and thinking these are the changes that we needed to get the Raiders defense back on track. This is exactly what we needed. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I figured you were being facetious. But at this time of the year, who do you find roaming around like a zombie wanting to be signed by an NFL team? You don't find frontline starters.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to find Perry Riley. You're not going to find Navarro Bowman at this point in the season that's going to patch up your defense and help you finish, on a strong note on that side of the ball. It's slim picking, so not much you can do at this point.
No, there's not much you can do. And Mo, that's the thing I was going to say is that, you have a situation where, yes, you need help on defense, but guess what? There's not anybody out there. And so you kind of have to just grin and bear it and understand that it's going to have to be addressed, of course, when they get to the postseason and into the offseason with the draft and whatnot. But you wrote today, you talked about the defense. What else can they do over these last 3 games? And I think it starts, one of the guys I was excited about, and you wrote about it, was LaMarcus Joyner, who's been playing out of position all season. What would you do with him?
I would absolutely move him to safety. And I took a quote right from the horse's mouth. He said it himself. He pushed to play safety when he was with the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams hired Sean McVay and Wade Phillips as his defensive coordinator. He had played nickel before they arrived under Jeff Fisher, and then he liked playing safety, even though he was a cornerback in college. But on the pro level, he seems to be a much better safety. He got the move, and he had his best season: 3 picks and 9 pass deflections. So I think the Raiders. Obviously, they paid him 4 years, $42 million, so he's going to do what the Raiders ask of him. But when you look at his production, his career, and you look at where he's been most productive, he's been at the safety position. But yet they refuse to play him at that spot, and they continue to have him in the slot, which I think is a terrible idea.
Yeah, and it's not really fair to him, I think, from a talent perspective. Now, I understand there's team needs sometimes, so guys will play where they need to play. To your point, he's getting paid to do so, but it's not optimal for him nor the team. Now, Daryl Worley's another guy that, I've had mixed reaction to, but that's also, I think, where he's being used. What would you do with Daryl Worley?
Yeah, my Daryl Worley approach is a little bit out of the box because a lot of people, I haven't seen this too much. If you look on Twitter, to some people he's one of the best players on the Raiders defense, and to some people he just completely sucks, which I think is too far extreme. But what I would do is I would have him in the slot because he has played some slot snaps. Because again, I don't think LaMarcus Joyner is the best person to play there, and I'm not too big on Nevin Lawson. Doesn't have enough ball skills there. I think Daryl Worley can be in the slot because he is physical defensive back, and I think he can handle that position if he played more snaps there. Also, I would drop him into the box because the Raiders have no linebackers that can cover. So what are you doing with the middle of the field? You can drop Daryl Worley into the box, have him survey the field, kind of chase the tight end. I know he had an issue with Travis Kelce and against the chase, but I think for the most part, you can drop him in the box and he'll be able to chase down running backs and tight ends in that position. But you need to do something at the linebackers. I don't think he can be any worse than what the Raiders have at linebacker because, again, I pointed this out in my article. Ryan Tannehill was 10 for 10, 153 yards, and a touchdown targeting Raiders linebackers on Sunday, which is atrocious. It's
terrible, and that's the thing. It's just you when you look at the numbers, and I didn't disagree with anybody saying that, look, this defense – they have to do something, and I get it. I mean, the year has gone on, and you can't really change who you are from an overall personnel perspective, but it is what it is. Again, we're talking to Moe Moton, our senior NFL columnist at silverandblacktoday.com, also a contributor up on Bleacher Report. Now, Mo, what else? I mean, you're trying to, at this point, as I said after the game, and I said on our Sunday show, at this point, what you're trying to do is you're trying to evaluate what you have left, what talent you do have, so that when you get to the off season, you can make choices there and decide what you're going to do and who you're going to keep and who you're not going to keep. I don't find a lot of guys that they're going to end up keeping. I mean, they're so thin at linebacker, and they're so thin in the defensive back as well, and they also need an edge. What do you do? Who else do you see on this defense right now that you would try to maybe evaluate and give an opportunity to perhaps earn a job for next year?
Definitely Keyshawn Nixon. He had a pretty good preseason. Hasn't gotten much run during the regular season. I know a lot of people are calling for Isaiah Johnson, partially because Gruden talked him up back in November when he came off of IR. He had a facial fracture, and Gruden, I believe, said he was the steal of the draft and talked him up huge, big time. And then he plays one defensive snap against the Chargers right before talking him up. And I said this multiple times to people on Twitter and just people in general. I don't think Isaiah Johnson is going to play a lot of defensive snaps this year. Just remember this. He was a wide receiver for 2 years at Houston, then became a cornerback, and then he only played 4 snaps in preseason before he got hurt. Then he didn't play. He went on IR. So there's no way you're going to get a raw talent like that. Just throw him out in the fire and have him play on a bad defense. It just doesn't make sense. You should use Keyshawn Nixon. He's been active during the preseason. He played well. He has speed. Use him on the outside against some of those agile wide receivers that may give Daryl Worley some issue because Daryl Worley is kind of a slow-foot cornerback. He ran a 4.64 40-yard time at his scouting combine. So he does have some issues with speedier, quicker wide receivers. We saw that with A.J. Brown on Sunday. So I think you would line up Keyshawn Nixon on the outside against the quicker wide receivers and against the bigger, big-body wide receivers. Then you use Daryl Worley when you're not floating him in the box or in the slot. So I think they need to evaluate him to see if maybe he could be a diamond in the rough. Who knows? But I think they need to find out what he is before they go into 2020.
No, there's no question. And when you do have a young player like that, it makes a lot of sense to do that. Again, we're talking to Moe Moton, our senior NFL columnist at Silver and Black today. But listen, if you look at Paul Guenther's defense, Mo, over the last 2 seasons, it's hard to see a lot of improvement. Now, I think we've seen some up front. I said on Sunday, even though it kind of goes under the radar, I think P.J. Hall has made a nice step up, obviously Max Crosby's done well. Mo Hurst at times has looked good. But do you see, even with the talent they do have, are you seeing regression? Are you concerned at all? I know Gruden loves him some Guenther, and he's not going to get rid of him, I don't think. But do you see any concerns there with regression on that defense?
Not necessarily regression. I think the defense was flawed from the beginning. I've gone on plenty of shows and I've said this is going to be one of the worst defenses in the league. And I know this is before Chaz Osborne got suspended and Abram got hurt. But there were just too many holes. Depth is just not there. I know people want to hang on to the whole, he doesn't have Khalil Mack like the previous coordinators had. But you got to move on from that. And as you said, they still have flashes from Crosby. But what I worry about is he willing to change? Because the way this league is going, the direction this league is going, if you look around the league right now, quarterbacks are coming in and they're moving the pocket. Tight ends or pass-catching tight ends are exposed in the middle of the field. Guenther likes the bigger, bulkier linebackers. He didn't really have coverage linebackers in Cincinnati. I know Vontaze Burfict was decent at it, but even he's considered a physical linebacker. He's got to be able to kind of change his philosophy, and the Raiders must have a linebacker or two who can cover the field. You're in a division with the Denver Broncos, who just drafted Noah Fant, and he's starting to flash. He's a pass-catching tight end. Travis Kelce, one of the best pass-catching tight ends in the league. Hunter Henry is now healthy. If the Chargers re-sign him, that's 3 tight ends you have to deal with twice a year.
Yep.
You need some coverage in the middle of the field, and I think Guenther has to change his philosophy. Less big, bulkier linebackers, more agile, athletic guys in the middle of the field.
Well, and that's the thing, too, and of course we have to get, before we let you go in here in a couple minutes, we have to talk about the elephant in the middle of the room again, which is, of course, Derek Carr. And Derek Carr put up a very nice first half, and then in the second half, along with the rest of the team, as we've seen all season, just kind of disappeared, couldn't move the ball. And then, of course, the last play of the game, which I still contend, I think he thought it was third down. I mean, I look at his reaction, but this Derek Carr fervor and what's going on, I know it's very divisive amongst Raider Nation, amongst Raiders fans, and I understand it, but I think, you wrote a piece last week about it to say, look, these last 4 games, we're going to see what we see from him. He didn't start off well. If that last quarter of this season, Mo, is kind of whether, is going to decide whether or not he's long-term the answer, he didn't start off well.
He definitely didn't. I know Gruden came out and said that he had one of the best first halves he's seen Derek Carr play. But then what happened in the second half when it really mattered, when the game was tied and you were still competitive and you still had a chance, the offense didn't do much. And then you had, of course, the throwaway on 4th and goal that a lot of people are talking about. And I don't think that's going to tip the scale either way. Yeah, of course, going to take people off, and his teammates are like, why would you do that? But Carr he still has to prove some things, and that's saying a lot for a guy in his 6th year. I'm just saying. Well,
no, and that to me, Mo, is the biggest deal, because look, if you have the quarterback that's going to get you to the promised land, okay, it's year 6, you would not be having the discussion. If you really believed, and if it was, that's my view, and I've defended Derek Carr. I think there are people who are blinded by stats on one side, and then I think there are people who are blinded by just dislike on the other side that don't see the good stuff that Derek Carr does. Right. But I really think you got to see something from him, but you continue to watch. I watch on Game Pass, I watch isolations, I watch what's happening, and it makes me have doubts. And so, we'll see what he does, but if you were here today sitting in front of me and we were going to make a bet together, what do you think they do with Derek Carr after the season?
Now, with all that said, I will say this really quick.
Yeah.
Gruden came out and he criticized the defense right away.
Right.
He was very resistant to criticizing Carr. He said very little about Carr. At this point, I believe Gruden is going to keep him in Vegas. I honestly believe Carr will be there in Vegas because Gruden will say, look, AB went haywire. We lost Tyrell Williams had plantar fasciitis. We lost Hunter Renfrow. He's going to bring up all these things. He's been bringing it up throughout the year. And I think that's going to wind up saving Carr for at least another year.
Yeah, but the counter argument to that, though, is, you have a top 5 running game. Now, of course, he's out, too, with Jacobs. Okay. And you have Darren Waller. And, yes, you don't have the full complement of receivers, but there are examples of quarterbacks who are in the same position who still get by and do more. So I think people are just at the point, some people are saying, look, how many excuses are you going to give the guy? Now, again, I don't think as a coach, John Gruden coming out and criticizing Derek Carr, even if Derek Carr was absolutely terrible, which he's not, if he was, that there would be no advantage to the coach or to the team for the coach to do that unless you're going to sit a guy like they did in Tennessee.
Absolutely. I agree with you there. But the thing is, he's been running this line from the beginning of the year.
That's true.
We lost AB. We lost AB. We don't have this. So I believe last year the whole message was we want to get car weapons. We want to surround him with talent. And it's obvious that they lost a lot of talent, either by choice or by injury this year.
Yeah.
So, I think that is what's going to give Carr another mulligan. Now, again, year 6, you would say, is he the guy or not? It doesn't take 6 years to realize you're a franchise quarterback.
No,
really
but Mo, and I think if we were in a different spot here and the Raiders were closer to being a true playoff team and we're a few players away, then it might be a different conversation. But you need so many bodies. You talked about it. You need linebackers. You need wide receivers. You still need people in the secondary. You still need an edge. So to me, I agree with you. I think he will be here next year as well. We'll see after that. But Mo, again, thanks for joining us tonight, man, and we'll talk to you real soon. Make sure you follow Mo at Mo, MoeMoton, and you can read his latest up on silverandblacktoday.com. Have a good week, my friend.
All right, have a good one, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that was Moe Moton, senior NFL columnist. We're going to step aside. When we come back, I'll close the show. I'll rant a little bit about the state of the Raiders. You're listening to the Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Sound off with Silver and Black Tonight on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Tonight here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Don't forget, tune in, Silver and Black today, 8 to 10 a.m. on Sundays. Myself, Chaz Osborne, and Kelly Kreiner. We preview the day's game and get you geared up this week for the last game in Oakland. I know for the folks up there, it's going to be a rough day, a fun day, a sad day, and let's hope the Raiders can win for y'all up there and send out the Coliseum on a winning note, which would be nice for everybody. But the way this has gone, the way this season has gone. I have to ask, is anybody really surprised? I saw fans at the beginning of the season. We talked. We said, what do you think the record's going to be? I had a lot of people tell me 10 wins, 11 wins. I never saw it. Vegas had it at 6.5. I bet the under. I bet 6. How many times on how many pieces on the website did I say it's going to be 1 step forward, 2 steps back this year? I also said, don't get too high when things go well, and don't get too low when they go really bad, like they are right now. And that's what you're having. You're having a team that has a roster. It's not where it needs to be yet. The Raiders didn't choke on Sunday. They got beat by a better team. The Titans may have started off 2-4 on this year, but Tannehill kind of elevated his game, obviously, but he also elevated his team. If you look at that Titans team, that's what happened there. So you have a different situation. And not only do the Raiders not have all the horses they need to yet be a contender in the AFC, but they lost key pieces to injuries. No, it's not an excuse, but it is fact. Injuries are part of the game, and yes, other teams have injuries too. Like Derek Carr said after the game about the Tennessee Titans missing pieces too, right? The difference is those teams have more depth. The Raiders don't have depth because of a lack of talent and because of the injuries, right? The roster was torn down to rebuild it the right way, as I said last week. They call it growing pains for a reason. I mean, that's just the way it is. And let's be real here. John Gruden and the rest of the organization knew their little run this year was a football version of a credit card. That's right. They didn't have the money to pay the bill, but they charged and they kept going, and they knew at some point the bill would come due. And the fact is, the last 3 weeks, the bill has come due, folks. That's not bagging on the Raiders. That's just reality. Fandom, sometimes you don't see the reality of things. You see the positives, which is great. You want positive fans. And I love Raider Nation. I didn't grow up in Raider Nation. I grew up the opposite, right? In San Diego. I was not a Raider fan. But Raider Nation's amazing to me. Best fans there are. But I think fans this year were under an illusion that this team was actually going to be able to be built to go to the playoffs. The Raiders were never set up to succeed this year. In fact, the NFL set them up to fail and fail bad. Okay? Not an excuse again. But that schedule, first of all, the schedule overall, and then the road trip, the 49-day road trip, it's a testament to the young players on this team and to the squad overall and the coaching staff that they have been able to do what they've done. They're at 6 wins. Maybe they win one more, maybe they don't. I like to think that they would win Sunday against Jacksonville, right? Last home game. Sure, some luck has played into kind of where they're at, but this team has reached its limit. It's just reached its limit, guys. You can't be mad at a team who doesn't have all the talent or the pieces in place that they need to win. You can't be mad at that. Yes, you can demand and say, I want more, I want better people, I want better coaching, I want better this. That's fine. But don't get upset at where it's at because it doesn't matter. It's been 2 decades of futility. I understand that. But this team is not being built to win 1 year in Oakland. I'm sorry. It's being built to win when it gets to Las Vegas. The influx of cash that's going to come along with revenue. The Raiders got to 6-4, and that was their big triumph this season. That is the big thing you should celebrate. 6-4 after that gauntlet. You should feel good about yourselves. They should feel good about themselves, even though they ran out of gas. They ran out of players. They did what they could. The future looks bright in all areas, I believe. And it looks bleak in some others, but they have to address that. The defense, again, 500 yards. You have to wonder a little bit about coaching adjustments. Paul Guenther's got to change a little bit, I think. But fundamentally, they can't tackle. They can't cover. They're slow. And many times they look lost out there, right? So who is that? That could be talent. Yes. Could be coaching. But you could tell Gruden was embarrassed by the way this team lost on Sunday. There's no doubt about it. He said it. It was written all over his face during the entire press conference. And on Monday, yesterday, he's not happy, and he shouldn't be. Neither should you. Again, this team's reached its limit. It can't go further, again, because it's not done. It's a work in progress. And there's much to be done. Much, much work to be done. Mike Mayock, John Gruden, they got to go get bodies. Free agency, the draft. They got to nail the draft again. And yes, you're going to tell me Clelin Ferrell isn't good. No, I don't think so. I think he'll be a fine player. Was he worth the fourth pick? I don't know about that. The Raiders' combined margin of victory in its 6 wins this year was 34 points. Okay? Its point differential in their losses, their 7 losses, is 142. Negative 142. It's not even close. So this team is what they are. It's a work in progress. Now, excuses about travel injuries from the head coach, I don't think help. I think Gruden's got to stop. I get what he's doing, but you can almost do it too much. Excuses might work this year in Oakland, but guess what? Next year, new market, new stadium, paid for by tax dollars, hotel tax dollars, with new players, excuses won't fly. So the rubber has to meet the road, and it's coming quick. But the Raiders have lost by a combined 116-33. This is who they are, folks. Doesn't mean they don't have flashes. It doesn't mean that Raider fans shouldn't be excited. There's just too many holes. That's just the reality of it all. And no, this team, though, should not be a disappointment to you guys. I'm just telling you that. I'm not being a shill. I'm not just trying to say things to be positive. I mean it. For what they are, what they've been able to do with the questions they still have, even about their franchise quarterback. Is he the guy? Not everybody thinks so. I'm not here to say who's right or wrong. I'm just telling you it's a question. If this is built the right way as they're attempting to do, it's going to be fine. And the decades of losing and not making the playoffs will soon be over. They always say it's darkest before the dawn, right? Now, last year, 4-12. This year, you're already at 6 wins. So I think things have gone. The light at the end of the tunnel is visible, even though it still seems a long way away. It seems like that last mile is the longest mile. And I agree with you. They got to nail the draft in 2020. They got to get better. They got to find linebackers, wide receivers, cornerbacks, safeties, everybody. Offense, I think they're doing pretty good. They got that line dialed in. They got their running back. But overall, I think you have to say, look, yeah, you're disappointed. You want your team to win. I get it. But for who this team is, what they've done, you should be okay with that. Not long term. Next year, you should expect 8 wins or 9 wins or more, depending what they're able to do in the draft and free agency. You went from 4 wins to 6 wins. You're an 8 or 9 win team. You're a playoff team in contention, a real playoff team in contention, right? You should be able to do that next year. So I'm interested to know how you guys feel about that. I see on Twitter, I get people who talk to me a lot, obviously, and tweet at me a lot, and they tell me what they think, but back emotion off it a little bit. Back off just a little bit and take a look at it from that perspective. Yes, I see some of you on social right now telling me you don't like Derek Carr, he's the fault. Well, you know what? There's a lot of issues for this team and why they have to get better. And they will, though. I really believe that. Okay? They really will. I think, again, the future is bright. This isn't 3, 4, 5 years ago where things weren't great. Okay? I think you have it on. I know some of the decision-making you might not agree with right now, but I think you got to just hang tight and things will get better. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. I want to thank Mark Bonilla in the booth there, making sure we are on the air and doing and sounding well. Also want to thank Chaz Osborne, my co-host, for calling in, Moe Moton, our guest. I want to thank all of you for listening, continuing to listen, always blown away by the amazing support. And we will talk to you Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. on Silver and Black Today. Take care, everybody.